saving a rare Arizona snail. We might have gone too far in this time. Immunity to COVID-19? What? Some rather interesting news about that. And a simple wooden box found in the woods holds an unbelievable treasure. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. Marilyn, good morning. Praise the Lord. Be blessed. We are indeed. Thank you for that. I have had more things happen in the last 48 hours that show me exactly how blessed I am, and I appreciate that. I don't want to get into any details, but I am truly blessed. All right, we got a lot going on, and we will get to all of it. Good morning, Karen. Great to have you here. Thank you for popping by. Appreciate that. This is a weird one, and I know it's not the kind of thing normally you would lead off a show about, but I thought, what the hell? It's weird, very weird. It seems like, without fail, the left seeks out ways to use the legal system to get whatever radical policy they want retained through a judge's ruling, to stop some conservative policy that half or more of the American people overwhelmingly voted for, say during a recent presidential election. And this may very well be the case in this news story, which has a lot of fingers going out, a lot of tentacles. An environmental group has filed a suit in Arizona against the Trump administration over the habitat of a rare species of desert spring snails. Snails, you know, like on our thumbnail, the little creepy crawly things. The fact is that this particular snail can only live where President Trump is planning on building a second border wall, which should raise thinking people's eyebrows just maybe a little bit. They're taking legal action against the Trump admin, claiming a second U.S.-Mexico border wall could wipe out a rare desert snail species found only in a single Arizona spring. This species of snail exists only in this one little tiny spring. Spring, like, you know, where water comes out. The Center for Biological Diversity filed a lawsuit seeking to force federal officials to finalize Endangered Species Act protections for the, I'll never do this, Quitobaquito trionia. That's the official scientific name. It is a tiny spring snail about the size, are you ready, of a poppy seed. About the size of a poppy seed. That is so tiny, if I put one on my pinky finger, you couldn't see it. It lives exclusively in this Quitobaquito spring inside the organ-piped cactus national monument, which is along the Arizona border. According to the center, the Fish and Wildlife Service determined in 2023 that this little snail deserved an endangered listing, but missed the legal deadline to finalize the protection. Federal officials are stalling while one of North America's rarest animals inches towards extinction, the size of a poppy seed, okay? The Southwest conservation advocate, Russ McSpadden, said in a statement, the Quitobaquito trionia lives in a tiny ribbon of desert water that could be destroyed for the useless political theater of Trump's second border wall. Well, radio station KTAR said the lawsuit comes as contractors prepare to build a second border wall about 100 feet north of the existing one. Environmentalists say the planned path runs directly through the fragile wetlands area, which could disrupt the spring's hydrologic functions and water retention. The entire habitat for a snail, the freshwater spring, flows into a pond and is about a third the size of a soccer field, if you can imagine that. About a third the size. This spring also holds some deep cultural significance for the Hayasied O'Daham and Pohono O'Daham people. Additionally, that water supports two other federally protected species, the endangered Quitobaquito pupfish and the Sonota mud turtle. The lawsuit is trying to get a court order which would compel Fish and Wildlife to issue a protection for the spring snail, the size of a poppy seed. Now, you may have caught the part in that report about the reporting of the tribe's potential concerns over the lands, which connects very nicely with a similar story on a lawsuit in a minute. There is a possibly nefarious pattern by environmental and tribal activist groups who sue with the understanding that these lawsuits can go on for years. In fact, it's the norm. Case in point, a similar rare snail was the focus of a 2023 lawsuit about a proposed lithium mine in what is called the Thacker Pass on the Oregon-Nevada border. One of a series of lawsuits dragged on under the Biden admin in this situation, there was also a tribal legal dispute over sacred lands with the project. And the results? Well, the judge in the case dismissed the tribe's claims in late 2023 that building the mine would be illegal, and all the other lawsuits eventually failed. In fact, the current Trump admin ended up making the whole thing a national security win. October 25, 2025, buying a minority 5% stake in the Thacker Pass lithium mining project as a joint venture with General Motors. Maybe you remember about that time, Trump approved a new mining road in Alaska for upping our domestic copper and zinc production. Now, here's the thing the left needs to get straight about these unbelievably vicious lawsuits. Not every piece of land in our country needs to be a park. Much as I appreciate what little snails and earthworms do to aerate the topsoil, they're still not as important as we human beings, okay? It's a little snail the size of a poppy seed. That's a major difference between the conservative and the Democrats. Something voters ought to keep in mind as these primaries across the country play out this summer. This suit, filed Thursday, May 28th in U.S. District Court for Arizona, Tucson Division, names Fish and Wildlife Service Director Brian Nesvik and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum as the defendants. The U.S. Department of the Interior, meanwhile, posted this on X without comment about the lawsuit. Said, "Did you know that we partner with the Department of War to help protect wildlife? Across military lands, we work together to conserve fish, wildlife, and plants through habitat restoration and on-the-ground conservation work." They actually do that. They work with these people. And yet they're going to keep suing over a little snail the size of a poppy seed and forget about, I don't know, let's see, our national security with the second border wall. Okay, fine. We'll go with that then. Unbelievable. Oh, these silly people. Are we? Yeah, we're still okay. Sorry, I'm just checking if we're all right on all the platforms. Oh, this is some good news. Some very good news, in my personal opinion, which is kind of what you're here for, I guess. Hopefully you agree. You don't have to. It's not a requirement for access. President Trump has picked his next attorney general. And this guy is going from acting to permanent. After Trump fired Bondi back in April, the speculation over who would replace her began. Thought maybe Alina Habba, Trump's former personal lawyer, confidant, maybe the president's hard-charging deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller. Some thought it might be Matt Whitaker, who was acting AG from 2018 to 2019 in Trump's first administration, after the Jeff Sessions resigning at the president's request. Well, Wednesday night, last night, the president put all the speculation to rest, and he picked the man who is already serving in the role, acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. We love this idea. Do we? Yeah, it's a very quick little piece of footage of him talking.
Acting Attorney General, tomorrow I'm instructing Dan and everybody else that's involved in that very complicated process, which is going to go, I think, very quickly, that we are going to make him permanent Attorney General.
There you go. Could not, in my humble opinion, have picked a better man. He has been kicking ass and taking names ever since Bondi left. We talked about him a million times here on the show and all the stuff he's doing. Dan Scavino, White House Chief of Staff, posted that video when Trump revealed the news, said he will start the formal process immediately. Trump had already hinted at his preference during an interview Wednesday on Miranda Devine's Podforce One. Do we have that clip? We do. Here's another very short clip of Trump on Podforce One's podcast.
Todd's doing a very good job at DOJ.
Will he be Attorney General, or have you decided?
I think he will, yeah.
You haven't got someone else in mind?
No.
Not Ron DeSantis?
I wanted to see how he's received. You know, we put him as acting, and he's done a very good job. But I've known him a long time. Todd.
There you go. There you go from the Podforce One podcast. Blanche has already been very much in the news since he took over from Bondi. He's announced multiple successes in crime fighting under his tenure as acting director. He's very well versed in Trump world, represented the then private citizen in Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's preposterous 2024 political show trial over supposed hush money payments regarding lowlife actress Stormy Daniels, which amazingly ended with Trump convicted on 34 counts. That case, of course, under appeal because it was a complete joke. Blanche says he is all in on making America safe again. He posted, "We are taking the next step in POTUS's mission to make America safe again. With the Model Cities initiative under this admin, we are committed to public safety throughout our cities." That announcement just hours old, but already, of course, like clockwork, the lefties are going nuts, clutching their pearls, pulling their hair out. Cory Booker, the Jersey Democrat, whining and moaning about the pick. Oh, you shut up. Booker tells NBC News' Laura Coates He doesn't believe Todd Blanche has the votes to be confirmed as AG, calling him wholly unqualified, arguing he would prioritize loyalty to Trump rather than serve as an independent law enforcement leader. He says, quote, this is Booker, his only qualification is that they're willing to do his bidding. Okay, Booker. No matter who Trump picked, it doesn't matter who it was. It could have been Marvin the Martian. Booker to be screeching about what a danger to democracy the pick was. This is so pathetic and so predictable. The next steps, Trump's got to make a formal nomination. Then Senate Judiciary holds confirmation hearings. And if they vote to proceed, that matter goes to a full Senate vote. Don't expect the process is going to be quick, and it sure as hell is not going to be easy. Democrats most assuredly going to use these hearings for nothing than fodder and political theater, airing every possible grievance they can think of. We'll keep you posted, but it's a good pick. It really is a good pick. Like to see him confirmed. All right, here's a weird one for you. This was on Theo Vaughn's podcast. And he was hosting a session with Dr. McCullough, whom I'm sure you have heard of before. And Dr. McCullough has come out with a large number of very controversial facts. Some theories, some facts. But this one is one I really didn't expect to hear. Do you know that I, as a smoker, might be immune to COVID? I know. But listen to this.
Was there anybody who was immune to like any genetics or demographics or cultures that were immune to COVID-19?
There's one adult group, you're going to laugh, but there's one adult group, no specific ethnicity or culture, but you're going to laugh. Smokers.
Smokers couldn't get it?
They got it very mild cases. And they don't get long COVID. You know why?
Why?
Because smokers maintain a level of nicotine in the bloodstream. They actually smoke frequently enough. Blood nicotine blocks the spike protein as it's interfacing with the nicotinic acetylcholine receptor. Smoking blocks the spike protein. It's amazing. I thought smokers were going to go down.
Well, who knows now then? All those years of all those smoking advertisements ended up probably saving people's lives 40 years later.
My God. Well, you know what? We use a nicotine patch, 7 milligram patch, even in non-smokers to help them through long COVID. We use it in addition to the McCullough protocol.
I've seen people recommend that people should just be on nicotine, take a nicotine patch. Do you think that's a good idea on a regular basis, or is that just?
I think if they have long COVID, I recommended to a patient yesterday, if they have long COVID symptoms, nicotine, don't forget, is a nootropic. A nootropic is a drug that does make the brain function more effectively. It's a methylxanthine. It's related to caffeine. Caffeine does the same thing as a nootropic. So some people use nicotine little packets or what have you. I grew up in Texas, so the kids were dip snuffing. And,
we used to chew that plug tobacco.
Right. My dad was a chain smoker, but nicotine itself is not. It's addictive, but it's not harmful to the human body. And so is, by the way, caffeine's addictive, but it's not harmful to the human body. What's harmful is the tars that's in tobacco and smoke. That's why I even use the dip snuff. That's related to oral cancer. But now the purified forms of nicotine, my understanding is that they're safe. The nicotine patches are perfectly safe.
And so there you go. I don't know, but that's Dr. McCullough, and he is jam full of information and quite an authority on a lot of this stuff. I will tell you that during the COVID pandemic, I one time tested positive for COVID. However, I just basically had the sniffles, and felt a little bit heaty. They say, like you got a little bit of a fever, just very mild. I could still taste, even though I tested positive. And that may very well look, folks. I've admitted freely on this show I am a smoker. I've tried everything to quit, nothing works. And I have literally tried everything. But I have been smoking since I was like 16 years old. So that is a hell of a long time smoking cigarettes. I should be dead. I also drink coffee like it's water, by the way. So since caffeine and nicotine both apparently help to prevent against getting infected by COVID or making the symptoms extremely mild, I seem to be a decent case study for that. Wow. One of the things, by the way, Marilyn says, I heard some time ago people were using the patches to prevent COVID, that it blocks probably why they don't want us smoking. They knew this and want all of us a faraway place, not just here. Marilyn's 81, smoking since she was 13. Family members living here had it, but not me with my bad lungs. Another case. There you go. It's just, look, I am not advocating that you smoke. Do not smoke. Do not even pick up a cigarette and try it. It is a horrible, nasty habit. It's not the nicotine that will kill you. It's the tars and the smoke and all the other bad stuff that is in that cigarette that is horrible, will rot your lungs, will make you smell bad. Do not smoke. On the other hand, if you are a smoker, I feel for you. I am also a smoker. I cannot stop. As far as the caffeine goes, yeah, I drink caffeine coffee day and night. I happen to drink Blackout coffee because not only are they a sponsor, but it's simply the best coffee I've ever had. Links in our description down below. Anyway, one of the big things here in Malaysia with the culture is drink water. I never heard of or experienced a culture when I was living in the States. Never in a billion years have I ever seen a culture that is so absolutely obsessed. I mean, capital letters, obsessed with drinking water. You see people here walking into the workplace with these giant things of water. And by the end of the workday, it's all gone. Or they're refilling them and drinking more. I made the argument because, as you know, I drink a lot of coffee. I made the argument that I'm getting water in my coffee. And people said, oh, no, that's coffee. It's not water. Well, I put the grounds in the machine, and then I put water in there, hot water, and I press it through. And so inside this cup is all the same water that I had when it was just water. So tell me that I'm not drinking water. It may be pressed through coffee beans or coffee grounds, but it's still water. Anyway, it's a losing argument because people here are obsessed with drinking water. I get my water through my Blackout coffee. There you go. Karen says, I switched from cigarettes to vaping about 5 years ago. 7 years, time does fly. My goodness. And it sure does. Marilyn says, sadly, the older we get, it goes even faster. I always thought when you got old, time just dragged on, but not so. You know, that's kind of true. I'm 68 years old. Holy crap, I'm old. But yeah, it does seem to go fast in some weird way. Unbelievable. All right. Yo, Secretary Scott Bessent went there. Oh, I mean, he went there. Senator Wyden says we don't want ramblings about the most corrupt regime in history. We want facts. Well, the Honorable Scott Bessent had something to say about that. This is a very brief exchange, but listen closely to what Scott Bessent had to say.
Let's be clear here. Nobody is interested in the ramblings of a capo in the most corrupt regime in American history. We want to get some facts about this deal. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I will ask my questions first today.
And we would like to hear what Adam Wyden and Jeffrey Epstein talked about. Your son's largest investment position was Rick's Cabaret. So did your son and Jeffrey Epstein talk about pole dancing as he begged him for money using your limited credibility?
I'm going.
Oh, man. Boom. Microphone drop. I love it. Do not get on Mr. Bessent's bad side. I'm telling you, he is so vicious. It is absolutely remarkable. Secretary Scott Bessent. He actually went there. Good on you, Bessent. Keep it up. Keep it up. Makes the Epstein connection with his son. Oh, man. Hey, who's your mobile service provider, huh? You know where your money goes every month when you pay that bill? Do you? How many lefty groups and organizations is the company you're paying your money to being supported? By you. You know you don't believe in what they believe in, so why are you sending them money? The best way to opt out of that is to go with a Christian conservative wireless provider, and that, the most amazing one on the planet, is Patriot Mobile.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Oh, yeah. PatriotMobile.com/J, J-A-Y. The link is in our description down below. Just pull that menu down. You'll see it. It's right there. Head over there. Check them out. Their customer service, 100% US-based. It's fantastic and just wonderful people to deal with. Patriot Mobile is a Christian conservative company that, you know, every company donates a portion of their profits to different causes. Patriot Mobile gives to places that support the right to life, the First and Second Amendment. They're a patriotic Christian conservative company that just does it right. They're fantastic. Please make that switch today. You will likely save money. They're going to put you in a plan that helps you. They're not looking to upsell you, spend more money than you need to. Their customer service people are great. And I'm going to pay your first month's bill if you use our link. You can use code J, J-A-Y, or just go to patriotmobile.com/J, and your first month is free when you sign up using that link. Yep. I'm paying for your first month. How about that? PatriotMobile.com/J. Check them out. Help to support them and help to support this program. We really appreciate you doing that. All right, the FBI has raided a Southern California mansion worth, about $35 million. And an Iranian American has been charged with betraying this country for Iran. Iranian American man living in a $35 million Newport Beach, California mansion, nabbed Wednesday in the U.S. Department of Justice of charging him with violating sanctions and supplying key technology to Iranian companies, as well as the regime's military and nuclear entities. Ain't that nice? Here's the announcement from the DOJ. Jamshid Gomi, 63, from Newport Coast, has been charged with conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Gomi is expected to make his initial appearance in U.S. District Court in Santa Ana, accused of aiding our declared enemies by selling U.S.-origin computer networking parts to Iran and earning millions of dollars in violation of U.S. sanction. Our national laws prohibit doing business with one of the world's largest state sponsors of terrorism, and they must be enforced and obeyed. We will hold him accountable by seeking an appropriate prison sentence, seizing his assets, and that includes his $35 million Newport Beach mansion. You want to see this thing? Hold on, I'll show it to you. There you go. $35 million in Newport Beach, California. Ain't that nice? Look at that. Wouldn't you like to live there? Nice, huh? Very nice. Jiminy crickets. Unbelievable. You know what? I want to play just a little bit of this. There's videotape of this absolute terrorist getting hauled away. Okay? But look at the way that, I don't know who did post this. California Post put this up. Let me see the actual X post. Eric Dougherty is the fellow who posted this. But take a look at this post. On the left is footage of him being arrested. What is the point of doing the whole Kash Patel on the right side of that shot? I don't need to see Kash Patel. I know he's there. I know he's the director of the FBI. I'm interested in the footage on the left. What is the point? Is Eric Dougherty somebody connected with the administration or the FBI? Apparently, this guy operated a very sophisticated system to sell network equipment and other tech to an enemy of the United States, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And he and his accomplices made their true loyalties to the motherland abundantly clear. Gomi and his co-conspirators refer to Iran as motherland in their internal correspondence concerning the equipment's procurement. FPR's annual sales exceeded $10 million, and his clientele included hundreds of Iranian companies and government entities, many of whom were subject to U.S. sanctions. Relatively small but significant portion of the business went to the most sensitive end users in Iran, the Iran regime's nuclear and military establishment. Well, Ain't that nice? Oh, Manischewitz. Meanwhile, speaking of Iran, Iran-linked hackers are targeting our water systems. And most of our water systems absolutely, completely lack any kind of reasonable security. Or what security they have is so old, it just don't matter anymore. This is frightening. March 14th, I know that was a while ago, but nevertheless, ransomware knocked out the water treatment plant that served 80,000 people in Minot, North Dakota. The staff spent 16 hours operating the system by hand. The city took more than 2 weeks to rebuild. Water quality was not affected, but the supervisory control and data acquisition system, gone. They called in the FBI. The attackers have not been publicly identified. It should not have been hard to see this coming, folks. When EPA inspectors began showing up at the drinking water facilities, drinking water across the country in 2023, listen to this, more than 70% of the systems they inspected were violating federal law. Oh, yeah. Not obscure regulatory technicalities. Basic Security 101. Facilities that had never changed the factory default passwords on their equipment. Systems where every employee, past and present, logged in with the same credentials. You know, like using admin as your password. Former workers still had full access to infrastructure that served tens of thousands of people. They just never changed the passwords, ever. April 7th, the EPA, the FBI, CISA, and NSA put out a joint advisory on Iranian-affiliated actors that were targeting water and wastewater systems. They did not describe a potential threat. They described an active threat. U.S. groups are experiencing exploitation and, in some cases, disruption of commonly used operational tech at drinking water and wastewater systems that are diligently working to ensure that Americans can rely on clean and safe water. Reported consequences have included wiped out system configurations, tampered mechanical sensors, knocked out control interfaces, along with direct financial losses. November 2023, an Iranian-affiliated group breached a Pennsylvania water system and forced workers to manually shut down a pumping station. And the threat never stopped. More than 153,000 drinking water systems and 16,500 wastewater systems operate across the United States. Most run very old and getting older equipment with very thin budgets. None are subject to any mandatory federal cybersecurity standards. They don't have it. It doesn't exist. That's why the passwords have never, ever, ever changed. The EPA spelled out exactly what a successful intrusion into one of these plants would mean. Possible impact includes disrupting the treatment, distribution, and storage of water for the community, damaging pumps and valves, and altering the level of chemicals to hazardous amounts. All of that is computer controlled, and we have easily hackable computers. The GAO identified why so many systems remain exposed: aging technology that cannot run modern security software, workforce shortages, and a funding reality in which clean water regulatory compliance constantly beats out cybersecurity for budgets. And the Safe Drinking Water Act does not give the EPA authority to mandate cybersecurity standards. Our wastewater plants and our clean drinking water plants, every single one of them, over 16,000 of them, subject to these attacks, and they are being attacked. And apparently we are doing all nothing to try and prevent it. The most crucial threats to our infrastructure come from our networks. And what's happening about it? Diddly squat. Funny you brought this up, Marilyn says. One of the local group's Facebook people were asking about the water smelling and tasting funny. There you go. How's your water treatment plant? Has it been hacked? Chances are it's still using the same old passwords from the moment it first got installed, 20, 30 years ago or more? Probably more at this point. You heard the story of the monkeypox being smuggled into the U.S.? Well, apparently the NIH knew researchers allegedly smuggled monkeypox into the U.S. Get this, they sat on the story for 5 months. Oh yeah. The National Institute of Health spent 5 months saying squat nothing about an incident that now has 2 researchers facing federal charges for allegedly smuggling biological material into the United States from an active monkeypox outbreak zone. Vincent Munster and Claude Quee, K-W-E, Quee, touched down at Detroit Metro Airport January 25. The 25th of January, not 2025, this year, January. Came off a flight from Brazzaville, Republic of Congo, where a monkeypox outbreak was actively spreading. Customs official pulled them aside and asked them what was in this large plastic case they were carrying. Munster and Quee said it held diagnostic and testing equipment. It didn't. Inside that case were 113 vials packed in styrofoam coolers. Munster, Dutch national, ran the virus ecological section at NIH's Rocky Mountain Laboratories in Hamilton, Montana. The BSL-4 facility works with Ebola, plague, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, and other happy pathogens. Sounds like a place you'd really want to work, huh? Quee, who was a Cameroonian national, was his research fellow. Both foreign nationals, full access to one of the most dangerous research facilities the government operates. According to federal prosecutors, both decided the rules don't apply to them. The place was already under the microscope before Tuesday. Just last week, Senator Tim Sheehy, a Republican from Montana, asked the HHS Inspector General to open a review of the facility after a lab worker got bitten by a monkey infected with the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. He also flagged a whistleblower complaint against Munster personally, one surfaced by White Coat Waste, conservative animal rights group. Laura Loomer's been all over this, beating the drum publicly, calling for a federal intervention against the lab and Munster directly. Apparently, Sheehy and the whistleblower were not wrong. They were just early. FBI testing of 20 vials so far that they brought into the airport that was in that plastic case turned up deactivated monkeypox in 17 of the 20 vials, chickenpox in one, and human DNA in 2 more. And the other 93 vials, 93, have yet to be tested. Now, some might ask, if the virus was deactivated, what's the crime? Now, here's the deal. Deactivated means it can no longer replicate or infect cells. Prosecutors are not claiming the samples were about to infect anybody on that flight. That's not the point. The point is that Munster and Quee took regulated biological material from an active outbreak zone, packed it up in a black case, boarded a commercial airline full of passengers, told federal agents it was equipment, and had no permits for any of it. You don't get a pass on federal smuggling law because your contraband happens to be inert. The U.S. Attorney Jerome Gorgon put it rather bluntly in the press release, said, "These NIH experts apparently broke our laws by smuggling viral pathogens on a packed commercial airplane from an outbreak in the Republic of Congo." Let that sink in. FBI Special Agent in Charge Jennifer Runyon said, "No researcher should believe their positions, credentials, or professional status place them above the law." Both men charged with conspiracy to smuggle goods contrary to law and making false statements to federal agents. Each one carries a maximum of 5 years in prison. And guess what? This is not a one-off. Not by a long shot. In November 2025, Chinese national pled guilty, sentenced for smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the U.S. while working at a University of Michigan lab. Same district, same category of crime. There is a pattern here, folks, and Congress ought to be asking why federal labs keep producing it. NIH said it moved quickly. HHS Press Secretary Emily Hillard told Politico the agency immediately activated established agency protocols once leadership was notified, secured lab spaces, restricted access, and conducted a full inventory audit. And NIH said there was no risk at any time to staff or public. Well, how reassuring. It also means no statement, no disclosure, nothing, until federal charges are going to force the issue. And then we'll probably hear something. These people think they're above the law. We need to show them they are not. Manischewitz. Embarrassment of the week. Oh, yeah. Where's the link? Hang on. I love this story. Hold on, let me just pull it up over here. The Islamophobic killer has been named. And yep, you guessed it. A Muslim was murdered outside an Eid service in Minneapolis last week. I think we covered that story briefly. Initially, it was a story made to order for the left's victimhood industry. It even seemed to be a genuine example of Islamophobia, which is about as rare in real life as Nancy Pelosi's stock losses. The far left's propaganda arm, also known as the mainstream media, very quickly swung into action. Lefty politicians chimed in with the requisite displays of outrage and sorrow. There was just one little catch. When all the details came to light, the media narrative came crashing to the ground. Not that anyone involved admitted that or backtracked even 1 millimeter. As Mark Twain said long ago, the lie goes halfway around the world before the truth has finished tying its shoes. And in this case, as always, the lie had served its purpose. A shooting took place in the parking lot at Canterbury Park, a Muslim event scheduled to take place in the Expo Center at Canterbury. Even though nothing yet has been revealed about the shooter, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat, who is running for governor of Minnesota, hurried that evening to imply the shooting was an instance of Islamophobia. On this Eid al-Adha, I'm thinking of Minnesota's Muslim community and all those gathered in prayer today, especially following the tragic shooting at an Eid's prayer service at Canterbury Park. My thoughts are with the victim's family and the entire community. The Islamophobia angle ran hard. Well, their whole house of cards came crashing down. Monday, CBS had to report the truth. A Shakopee, Minnesota man is accused of shooting and killing 26-year-old Khalid Ibrahim Abdi outside a Twin Cities Eid al-Adha prayer service on Wednesday. The man, 28-year-old, is named Mohammed Rage, facing 1 count of second-degree murder as well as illegal weapons charges. Mohammed Rage, which is embarrassing enough, not only his name deliciously apropos, but young Mr. Rage has left the leftist narrative kind of in a smoking, smoldering heap of stink. Minnesota conservatives succinctly summed up the entire absurd affair, saying, "Remember the fatal shooting during the Muslim Eid prayer gathering last week in Minnesota by a masked gunman? Well, the one where Amy Klobuchar and Tim Walz publicly condemned the violence against Muslims. Turns out the shooter is Mohammed Abdirizak Rage, of course." Sorry that just didn't work out for you this time, huh? Oh, my Lanta, says Karen. I have not heard that phrase in so long. All right. I got one more for you before we head out of here. This is quite a story. I'm going to play the sound. It has music behind it, damn it. So I'm sure I'm going to get a hit on YouTube. I don't care. It's worth your hearing this because it's so nice. A poacher had abandoned a wooden crate in the woods, and a ranger tracking the poacher found the crate, and what he found inside was positively remarkable.
Hey. Hey. It's okay, I see you. Easy. Easy. It's okay, I'm not gonna hurt you. That's it, I got you. You're safe now.
Watch this.
Months later, look how strong you are. You remembered, still my little buddy.
Look at that face. Oh my. One rescued little baby gorilla who now is doing well. What a great story. Love it. All right, folks. Thanks so much for popping by. Please do use one of our links down there in our description. You can donate directly to the show with our PayPal link. Use your credit card, your bank account. Make a transfer, any amount would be helpful. We appreciate that. And of course, our great sponsors, Patriot Mobile, Blackout Coffee, Ground News, NordVPN. They're all down there. Go make a purchase, save some money, use our promo links, and fantastic. It's Thursday, so guess what? Tomorrow's Friday. Yay! This is my best Muppet impression. I'll see you tomorrow.